this is our first podcast. Welcome to Generational Talk Podcast with Hal Donahue and Kristin Battista-Frazee. That's me. Hal is a retired colonel who served on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was a cop, a Vietnam veteran, and a TikTok sensation with My Three Things. I'm a social worker and author of The Pornographer's Daughter. I'm also a volunteer with Women Forward for the Writing to Win project and on the editorial board of the Grassroots Connector. Hal's a boomer. I'm Gen X. Our conversations have a generational viewpoint. We hope you enjoy.
And the reason we are here is because people talk about gaps. They talk about the generation gaps. They talk about gender gaps. Kristen and I package that, at least in one way. And I think we're open to having Gen X and Z come.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hopefully in the
And we,
future.
we can talk about the problems of the day. We can talk about where we come from and why our viewpoints are what they are. And we can kind of make it a personal dialogue.
So we hope you enjoy. And just to kick off the conversation, I thought, let's talk about what's on our mind. And there's obviously been horrific stuff going on this week. Why don't you start us off by sharing
Well,
what's on
the,
your
the,
mind?
the first thing that comes to mind is the FBI, yet again, identified a wrong man early and caused chaos in the Boston school shootings. And why did Patel do it? Clickbait. There's no other reason. They want attention.
Yeah, do you mean the Providence shootings?
The Providence shooting at Brown University.
Yes, it was terrible.
But just as terrible is think what they did to that young student.
I hadn't heard about this. Tell me a little bit more. I hadn't
He,
heard that Cash Patel
the
mistakenly
person of
talked about a
interest
student.
identified as Patel, what that Patel identified was a student transferring or attending Brown for the fall semester and staying at a hotel. I have no idea how they identified him. He was a military veteran,
Wow.
a transfer student for a month or a semester, and they just grabbed him. He had guns, so they took his guns, and they just smeared him all over the paper. All the information that usually a person of interest you do not identify. But Patel went and just blew it all up.
I mean, just the gross incompetence. I mean, this has been a standard theme for him,
Yeah,
right?
they are screwing up every investigation for attention and to act like they're doing something when reality is they're getting in the way.
I mean, how long do you think he's going to last, really?
Well, it's not him I hear is in trouble.
I just heard last night, I think it was on Rachel Maddow's show, that Dan Borgino is the deputy director that he was kind of on his way out. There's been reporting and talk that his office has been cleaned out, and there's a co-director, a co-deputy director, which is really all kinds of weird. Like, what does it mean? Like, is he in? Is he out? Oh, so
Yes.
strange.
You have to understand, none of these people are qualified. Bongino has a little bit of qualifications, but nothing for the position he's in. And they serve at the whim of Trump.
Right.
And
Exactly.
Trump wants them without any skills or whatever, so he can tell them what to do. But there was a positive side this week, too. As
Tell
bad
me.
as the Bondi shooting was,
Yes.
The right wing was all going right wing here and in Australia was winding up to attack Muslims. And lo and behold, it was an Islamic man who brought down one of the shooters. And by the way, the police accidentally shot him in the process, but immediately stopped. It was a gentleman that had immigrated from Syria. He was a Muslim and he did the right thing.
Yes, and I was, when you had mentioned this earlier, I think his name was Ahmed Al-Ahmed, and
Yes.
just really just such a heroic act. And what was striking for me is that, he had to put down the gun and step away because, he feared that he would have been implicated and people would have thought that he was the one doing the shooting. So
And
he
they
left
still
him,
shot him.
yeah, and they still shot him. And so he left himself exposed to great harm and possibly getting killed for doing the heroic act that he did, which was really striking to me.
But that's a very positive thing because he's like most of the Muslims I know. He's like most people I know.
Right.
The enemy, in my view, the enemy is not a religion, Islam, Judaism, Christianity. No, it's religious extremism or anything extremism. The minute you start saying, you will do what I want you to do because that's what my God tells me is right. No, you're a danger to yourself and society.
Right. I mean, the extremists on both sides are really can be damaging for sure. And in thinking about the Bondi Beach shooting, this terrible anti-Semitic event, and the Brown University shooting, um, it's been another mass shooting. The long list just keeps growing. It's been 26 years since Columbine. Um, when I think about growing up in the 1970s and the 80s, I don't remember the mass shootings. This did not happen. I did not fear a mass shooting when I was growing up in the 70s and the 80s,
We
and
did not have as many guns.
there weren't as many guns. So I was curious. I did a little research and I thought, what's the NRA up to these days? And I found a Washington Post article that was published, I believe it was in November 4th, 2025, about the NRA is furloughing staff and it's preparing to rebuild for the 2026 election. But they've had a really bad couple of years. They've really mismanaged a lot of money. I was reading that they spent $11 million in the last cycle in 2024, but that's dramatically down from the 55 million they spent in 2020. So, um, what do you think? I mean, where is the
I
NRA going
think
to
the
be?
NRA is irrelevant. I think that for the MAGA world, guns have become a statement, kind of like the crucifix for Christianity. The guns are a statement that I feel strong, I feel. And my, but the Heritage Corporation, all the gun lobbyists, gun manufacturers, ammunition manufacturers, a lot of the military industrial complex will fund all this gun worship.
I hope you're right that they're in a weakened state. I feel like they are. I never want to count them out as being a potent force for the 2026, midterms. But they've certainly been destructive to our politics.
And but guns have began. I don't understand it. I've been forced to carry one much of my life as a cop and military and everything else. I hate the damn things personally, and I always used to leave my gun in the locked up and my bullets in the car.
I have to ask, How many times have you used a gun?
Several, several. Uh, as a cop, I only had to use it once. Although the way they're training cops now, it I probably would have had to use it more often. They
Wow.
it seems to be they our oath was to serve and protect, and you would protect others, which also means the criminals if you think about it. But the mental cases were still there, and you could shoot somebody, but why? Now, if it's a threat with a knife or something, it depends on the situation. But too often, I think, my opinion, police are geared to shoot first and ask later. I was talking to some Texas cops, and they wouldn't believe when after the El Paso shooting and thing, when I said, "No, no, we shoot only as a last resort." And their reaction, we don't say serve and protect. I'd rather be I'd rather be what judged by 12 than carried by 6
Oh,
was what
explain that. What does that mean?
he'd rather be put on trial and have a jury decide what he did, or
Okay.
a 6 carrying his coffin.
Oh, man.
In other words, if there was any risk to him at all, he was going to shoot.
Okay.
Now, that makes absolutely no sense because oftentimes a cop, at least a cop in the cities, you can't talk too much about the country. The cops in the city, they put their lives at risk every day. I mean,
Yeah.
burning automobiles,
I mean,
burning
it's
buildings,
such a dangerous job.
robberies. It just goes
Yeah.
with the territory.
Right. Oh.
And I don't understand the high number of police shootings. Uh, People tend to magnify crime and downplay good people.
Well, that's fear, right? It's all deep-seated fear. It's the messaging we hear from different sources, and of course, the myths and disinformation out there that feeds into,
If it bleeds, it leads is the old newspaper argument.
yeah.
And now if it bleeds, it's clickbait. And that part builds fear. But I've seen people in really scary situations. Earthquakes, hurricanes, wind fires burning down whole blocks. And guess what? People work together. They're not afraid. They
So
get out.
you think there are more brave people than not
Yes, I think they're more brave and better people. And the brave people don't know who they are.
until you're confronted with the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that Syrian, I'll bet, didn't never thought of himself as brave until he saw a guy shooting and ran to stop it.
Ran towards the danger.
Yeah,
Really
but
remarkable.
but
Remarkable.
that's people's general reaction to help each other. It's only after the immediate danger and threats over that people begin to say, I want more than he gets. And they
Or
start
if you
squabbling.
had any chance to have to think about what you needed to do instead of just reacting in the moment, maybe we all wouldn't be as brave if we had time to think about what we were about to do, right?
No, the sad part is you usually have time to think. There's the what's it, flight or fright?
Flight or fright. Yeah.
Yeah. And people freeze and they actually think about it. You have a choice. And what you choice you make says basically a lot, but people
Yeah.
are spring-loaded to help other people, in my experience. And like I said, I've seen people in the worst times of their lives.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think? What I'm talking about me. What's your
You
background? What do
know, I
you think?
don't, I think it's admirable that you think people are so brave. And I generally think people want to help and are good and are brave, but to jump in harm's way, I think is a different thing. I think I don't know that I think I would like to hope and think that I would do that, that I would jump in front of a bullet or, you know, do something like that. But I don't know if I'd have the gumption or the, get over the fear of physical harm or death that easily
Well,
for me.
it's yeah, I think you see it more as, is the threat to you more serious than the threat poised by whatever threat's confronting you?
Right. Right.
And
That's
like
true.
it's a classroom shooter or something, people they're now taught to run to the shooter. And that works most of the time.
Yeah, that's interesting to contemplate, what you would do during a horrific event or imminent violence, and what would you do to protect your fellow neighbor for sure. Um,
Well, I'm a boomer. I'm an early boomer, so I don't know what you were taught. It was
uh,
ingrained in my
what were
head, you
we
know.
taught? What were Gen Xers taught? I can't, I think Gen Xers have always been very independent minded and kind of thumb their nose at authority, and we're kind of a little bit of the rebels,
I'm a
the
child of the 60s.
the slacker slash kind of independent rebels is kind of how I see Gen X. And I can't honestly, nothing jumps to mind as to the, what would a Gen Xer do in the face of violence. And you know I think I just want to believe that everybody would be brave, like you were saying.
I'm not
That's what
saying
that would be my
everybody.
hope.
I'm saying most. There are
Most,
obvious, differences. Trump is a classic example. He's a crook. He worries only about himself and no
right?
one else. I have no doubt that he'd leave Barone standing there and run away.
Definitely.
But that's a tiny portion of the population's damaged like that, in
Right.
my view, my experience.
Your experience. Um, well, so as we continue our conversation, in terms of what else has been on our mind, and obviously the recent gun violence is really terrible and an ongoing saga for our country. But the other thing that was really on my mind was, the Reiners and the terrible murder. Rob and Michelle Reiner, as most people know, over the weekend was allegedly stabbed by their son in their home in Los Angeles. And, um, you know, to make matters worse, and everybody's been talking about it, it's been all over the news, it's just Trump's really despicable response. And
Trump is just looking for attention. That's all he wants.
there was something more depraved about it. There was something like we always knew that. Like he's um devoid of any
But he made
empathy.
Rob and Michelle's slaughter or murder about him, not about them.
He did, as a true narcissist would. But it's just, I don't know, it's just like beyond disgusting,
Well, that kind
like
of
beyond
leads back to
words.
what I said about he'd leave Barone behind and be off.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
I worked very, very briefly with Rob and Michelle on an ad.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Really?
down at the Lincoln
Is
Memorial.
this for your votes, that's
It was
volunteer
for
work?
both bets.
Oh,
But
wow, wow,
they were
wow.
real. I've worked with a lot of celebrities,
Yeah.
and too many of them think they're better than everyone else, which I find they're not. But Rob and Michelle were not like that. They were easy to work with. They were friendly, and on Blue Sky, that's a picture I have of me with Rob and Michelle before the Lincoln Memorial. It's been my symbol on Blue Sky since I joined.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have to check that out and look at it more closely.
Yeah, and but they're good, down to earth people and don't deserve the shit that they're getting from the so-called president, who, by the
No,
way, I can't say enough, is a criminal and a convicted felon. We need to say that more often.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Do you have a link to that ad that you could maybe share on Blue Sky and on Substack? And um,
It was with Rob's father was in the ad as well,
oh, Carl Reiner, really? That's
Carl Reiner.
great. Oh my God,
But he
I'd
was
love to see
plugged in
it.
from California. He didn't come out to DC.
But that's amazing. What year was this? How long ago?
When Trump made some speech at the Lincoln Memorial for something about veterans, might have been wanting a parade,
Wow.
and a group of us veterans went down. Vote Vets has it, or I'm not sure who else
We
might. It's
gotta,
out
we
there
gotta,
somewhere.
we gotta dig up the link. We need this link. We need to see this ad.
I'll try and find it. It should be on Google.
We'll try to find it and we'll post it. Coincidentally, I'm a new editorial board member for the Grassroots Connector, and one of the other editorial board members, Susan Wagner, had a really brilliant idea in 2020 with a fellow organizer of hers to do an ad. The Bill Crystal and Billy Crystal. And if you go over to the Grassroots Connector today, will Susan put together this lovely post, in honor of Rob and Michelle Reiner, and shared a link to that ad that they did in 2020, and that Rob Reiner directed, and it's a really great ad for Joe Biden, and just said, all of the same things that you're saying, just how nice a person he was, how lovely, how kind, and
They had
it's
plenty of reason. They had plenty of reason to be snobby. They weren't at
sure.
all.
Yeah. What's your favorite Rob Reiner movie? Do you have one? I'm catching you on the fly.
You caught me on the fly here.
Catch you on the fly. Let
Give
me
me
give
some
you
titles.
Harry
Oh,
Met
Harry Met
Sally.
Sally. It's got to be Harry Met Sally.
I had time to think about it because I was thinking about this before we came on today. I think it's The American President for me. And I saw that Heather Cox Richardson um, posted a long post today, just of some of the lines and the speech of the fictional President Shepard character, who just shared this long speech about freedom and what it is to be American, and it was so apropos for today. So I shared it on
I'd
Facebook.
forgotten he did that.
I know. I mean, I think when you think Rob Reiner, you think Princess Bride, Spinal Tap, Harry Met
Yeah.
Sally.
Yeah. So
But I
I'd
think The
forgotten he'd
American
done that.
President, I think that's my favorite.
But they were really, and they work well together.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's so cool that you had that experience to meet him.
That's
How
part of
wonderful.
living so long, you know.
I guess so. I guess so. And the one if there is a silver lining to this horrible situation, is that there are some Republicans who are, speaking out. There was Rep. Massey and um, Laura Ingraham and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they've kind of come out against the despicable things he
I
said about the
wonder if
Reiners.
they're the first sharks smelling, first one of the sharks, first group of sharks smelling
Maybe,
blood in the water.
maybe.
Because Trump, I think, is losing it. I really think he's losing it.
I mean, the falling asleep in meetings and stuff, and yeah, I mean, just the napping has really
Well,
been
Rasmussen went in and briefed them that he was losing his base because he
I
was
s-
concentrating on foreign
I
affairs.
saw that article this
Did
week.
you?
Very, very
Yes.
telling.
Especially Rasmussen. I mean, he's always a good fluffer for Trump.
Yeah, yeah, that poll is very right-leaning for sure. But yeah, so all in all, like really, I'm sure every week we could come on and do this podcast, and we'll
How
have
much time is it now?
uh I don't know, I haven't timed it, but I'll know when I download the
Yeah.
recording. Um,
I'm guessing it's about our allotted time.
maybe,
And
but
we
why
were
don't
going to talk
we
about
can
religion.
well, I think let's move into talking about what we're working on, and I'll be able to talk a little bit about my article that I'm
Yeah.
trying to write for the Grassroots Connector. So 2026, we're running into the holiday. What are you working on these days? I know you do a lot of volunteer work with Vote Vets.
I'm doing right now, all I'm doing is concentrating on my TikToks, and my family arrives and it's the holiday season.
Right.
And I figure we'll do one more of these or two. What's today's
I
date?
think we'll just do one before the end of the year
The
because
end of
I
the year,
know,
we'll do a Merry Happy Christmas holidays, but Kwanzaa, whatever day.
yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll talk about it, but
Yeah.
but what have you got
And
on
but I
what do
hope
you
people like what they're listening to. I mean, it's
we'll
kind of
see.
rough. We're just getting started.
I know, I know. We'll get it straightened out. But yeah, I'm trying to work on an article with for the Grassroots Connector about the religious resistance. It's the conference on Catholic bishops and Pope Leo and a couple of
Has
other
the Catholic
grassroots.
have the Catholic bishops recanted their extremist views?
I probably not all of them, but I have been struck by some of the comments that some religious leaders and people have made on behalf of immigrants. That is what really caught my
That's strong.
attention. That's what caught my attention, and it's caused me to think about what is there is a religious resistance out there that the grassroots, democratic leaning grassroots
Hey, I
advocates.
know some of the nuns on the bus. They've been out there
That,
a
yeah,
long
that
time.
that I've heard of the nuns too. And so there's this emergence of that happening that's been more present in the news, and it's gotten me very curious. And I was lucky enough to be connected with author Ann Nelson and Natsworthy of the American Values Coalition. And I have to pull it up while we are talking and give a shout out to Ann Nelson's book. As we're talking, I'll find it. Um, but she wrote a book that gives you the entire, history about the emergence of the religious right, how, Christianity had merged with politics in the late 70s and early 80s, and then, moving into Christian nationalism, which
Oh, you
seems
got me hooked. I'll order the book
yeah,
as
I
soon as
mean,
you
it's a
give me the
great
title.
book, and she was, oh my God, how can I not have the title handy here? Um, but yeah, I've been reading the book. I'm almost done with it. Oh, it's The Shadow Network, Media, Money, and the Secret Hub of the Radical Right. And Anne spoke to me for about an hour, and Knapp did too. And Knapp's group is doing wonderful things to support pastors who are really been inundated with their congregates, coming with Trump disinformation and things that have been very disruptive to religious teachings and religious service, gotten away from Christianity, the real values-based Christianity.
I
And
am basically a heathen,
I
but
mean,
I
I
do have
I
friends that
kind of am too. I don't I went to Catholic high school, and I never been um on board with organized religion, but they Anne and both Nat make a very important point that Democrats have turned away from engaging faith religious leaning Democrats, like the Hispanic population,
I'm not
who
guilty of that.
who are religious, who are, they're religious and they believe in their faith. And, the Democrats have not, I think, kind of leaned into engaging those types of voters, kind of left them with nowhere else to go, really.
And they're
So,
having a problem though.
well, how so? What do you mean?
They they they're not welcome with the
Exactly. Yes,
yeah, but not just with the Democrats, now with MAGA.
that is true. Yeah. So, and I have a working theory that, what if the grassroots are probably already doing this, and I just don't know about it. Um, they're probably already partnering at the local level with their local churches, local religious leaders. It's probably already happening. And
I know in northeastern Pennsylvania for a fact it is.
yeah, I mean, it's happening. I would love to publicize it more through the Grassroots Connector,
They would
Grassroots
like
Connect.
not to be publicized.
Well, I don't know. I feel like well, anyway, it's a topic that I'm gonna probably publish the article right after the first of the year. Um, and we'll see how people respond to it.
Will you include the ice crash?
Which one? The
The
ice?
crash that has ice that mentions ice, like the one where ice that baby Jesus is
Oh
taken.
yeah, yeah.
But now
I
other
found a great
churches, I guess,
picture.
have picked up on it across
Yes,
the country.
the nativity scenes with the
The
sign.
nativity scene.
Ice was here. Yes, I've grabbed a couple pictures, online. That it's just such a strong statement there, right? Like, you know, I don't know.
Without
I think
saying
it's
a
great
word,
without saying a
really.
word. Right. Yeah. So, that's kind of what I've been working on. And, I volunteer with Women
Are we going to
Forward.
talk about
And
that next week?
yeah, we could talk about that next. So just briefly, I'm doing the Letters to the Editor project, and we're kind of going to move forward with doing some more writing workshops and things like that. So,
Perfect. So, shall we conclude this
yes, let's
edition, our
okay,
first
our first
podcast?
podcast. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But thank you all for joining us. And if you want to contact Hal or I, just drop a mention in the comments, and stay tuned for more of these with
And Gen
generational
X and
talks.
Z, if you want to join us,
And Gen Z, if you're out there, why don't you join us? We'll make a whole thing of it. So, okay, thank you.
have a good week.
Have a good week.